And it was because I was like, there is a whole bunch of stuff happening to me that I cannot control. Like if this treatment works or if the hormone levels, come back or not. But I can control if I try to start getting active now.
Hey everybody, got a fun video for you today. I am actually headed over to my brother's house, or a garage near my brother's house that is set up for working out. So my brother is a personal trainer. He just got his certification recently, and he is also a competitive power lifter. He's gotten into that in the last few years. And on my last call with Jonathan Shane that you guys will have already seen, hopefully, we were talking about heavy weightlifting and how I felt like I needed to add a little bit more heavy weightlifting to my life. I do lower weights, higher reps type things in my exercise class that I do 2 to 3 times a week. So I feel like I have that covered, but I felt like just as I age, I need to get better at the heavy weightlifting side and just a little bit of it. Not, I'm not becoming a power lifter. I just want to avoid osteoporosis, sarcopenia, all of that as we age. It can be so easy just to lose muscle. And I want to try to avoid that as much as possible, and then also build muscle. Muscle is the fountain of youth, apparently. So I just want to get better at it. So anyways, my brother is going to give me a coaching session, like a form coaching session. So with heavy weights, of course, big thing is, keep yourself safe. Don't injure yourself. Can be easy to do with those heavy weights. So I want to start off with as much knowledge as possible and really protect myself from getting injured. So he's going to coach me on form for some exercises, and I figured I would just bring you guys along, and you get to meet my brother, and it'll be a fun time. I am about ready to run in, but I wanted to chat real quick about what's in my cup. This is my Element electrolytes. This video today is sponsored by Element. I don't ever leave the house without my Element electrolytes, but when I'm going to work out and lift weights, it somehow seems even more important, even though I never leave the house without it anyway. Element helps me feel hydrated, helps me feel my best on my health journey. It has a science-backed ratio of 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium in each of the sticks. And Element right now has a special deal for all of my viewers. You can get a free sample pack with any Element purchase. All you have to do is use my link, drinkelement.com/indigo. That's DRINKLMNT.com/indigo. Click that link, place an order for anything on the website, and you will automatically get the 8 sample pack added. That way you can try out different flavors, see which ones you like the best, or you can pass Element on to a friend. Thanks so much to Element for sponsoring the video, and now I gotta head in and get my workout on. I got it rolling, and we'll just
let it
go and edit out, all the embarrassing stuff.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so I'll tell everyone, this is my brother Halden, big brother.
Yes.
And so you got your personal training.
Yes, I got certified
certification
as a personal trainer back in March.
Okay.
So I'm just starting to take on personal clients and get coaching jobs.
Awesome. And then what about the powerlifting thing? How long have you been doing that?
I did my first powerlifting meet in October last year. And so now I've done 2 of those and 1 weightlifting meet. Weightlifting is like what's in the Olympics, where they do the snatch and the clean and jerk. Okay. And powerlifting is like what we're going to be doing today, which is squat, bench press, and deadlift are the 3 lifts for that. Olympic weightlifting is cooler looking and more complicated.
Okay, awesome.
But the powerlifting lifts are focused on all 3 are big compound movements. So using multiple muscle groups, multiple joints. And so they're really good strength developers. That's why I think that's part of why they call it powerlifting. It's like for developing the most power and the most strength, these are really big developers. Which is why I think it's good that you want to try to get some exposure to those and learn those. Yeah. Because the squat, you're using your core to stabilize. You're using all of your leg muscles. You're strengthening your joints, your bones. Has a lot of payoff. Same thing with the deadlift. You're doing hip extension. You're using your glutes, your hamstrings, also using your core. You're using your pulling back and upper back and arm muscles. And on the bench press, you're using your chest, your arms, and somewhat you're using kind of leg drive as well if you more advanced you get at. So they're
kind of covers everything.
Yeah, that's one of the differences that they talk about in the strength training space is like the difference between isolation movements and compound movements. Like isolation movements is like doing like a biceps curl where you're trying to just isolate that muscle. Whereas compound movements, it's like you're trying to involve many muscle groups. And so they're really good for developing strength and building muscle mass. And it's not that isolation movements aren't good, don't have their place as well. But when you're trying to like, especially when you're trying to do like holistic fitness and you're trying to like kind of cover a lot of bases and be the most functional that you can.
And efficient with your time.
And efficient with your time. Because like not everybody has the time to like be a bodybuilder, like, okay, I'm going to do just biceps and triceps today because I'm going 7 days a week and hitting every little muscle. You know, that's one way of training. But yeah, time-wise for the compound movements have a lot of payoff.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, you saw my video with Jonathan about, he said 3 specific things to focus on, and that was, well, he had said back squat, regular squat. Now, I'm wanting to do something that I can do at home, like, because I feel like if I can't do it at home, I won't be consistent doing it. And so we have a barbell, but we don't have a rack. And so I was like, back squat, is there something else? And he said sumo squat instead, which is the back squat. Are you normally in a sumo?
Well, stances can change. It sort of depends on your mobility and like the length of your like femurs and lower legs. Like that'll affect how wide your stance is on a squat. Like if you have, it looks like you kind of have long femurs, which can actually, for some people, it can make squats more challenging. Like if you have shorter femurs, it gets easier to have a narrow stance and drop down into low depth. But if it's longer, it's just the lever motion. Like you're going to be, it's going to just, you're going to have to travel further to get your hips down if your femurs are longer. And so sometimes people with that kind of lever length end up adopting like a wider stance in order to get down. So that's just something to play with and figure out like how to comfortably get to the best depth you can. Because you want to train in like the best range of motion that you can. That's going to help you develop the most strength and mobility.
And that's probably why it's good to work with someone that can like watch you, because you know what I always do is do YouTube videos or whatever, and it's like you just kind of copy what they're doing, but maybe their bodies are completely different and something could be done better for your specific body. So that's
that's like one of the things that I've definitely learned, like getting into powerlifting and watching different athletes and realizing how differently different body types squat and deadlift. Because of the length of their levers and how like if you're you've got all these different muscles in your quads. Your adductors are the muscles that pull your knees inward, and the abductors are the ones that pull them outward. And so depending on which ones are stronger, you'll see people's knees bow outward or collapse inward. Like there's so many factors that change how you squat. And some people will talk about like, we got to find the optimal way to do it, as if there is one.
Just one for all people?
Which there's not. There are some things that are kind of like that. You maybe want to work on that movement pattern because it's not so good, but it's not absolute. Like, it's about what you can do comfortably and then build your strength and build your range of motion.
Cool.
Yeah. I want to see kind of like how much weight is comfortable for you to start with, and that'll give me an idea of maybe what the best thing to do at home will be. The back squat is really nice because it's easier to stabilize the bar on your back than do it in other ways.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But what you could end up working on is a front squat, which also uses the barbell. And that's where you hold the bar like this, and you're kind of balancing it on your shoulders, clavicle. We'll see how that. We might try that. Let's see how that feels. Sometimes the like range of motion on the elbow and the wrist becomes a factor for that. Although there's other ways to do it. That would be a way you could use a barbell. Do you have kettlebells at home?
No.
Okay. So we'll start with squat, and then then you kind of take a break and do pressing, which is just upper body, and then you do deadlift at the end. To get started, since I don't want you to start squatting totally cold, have you used a rowing machine before?
I have, yeah.
Let's just put you on the rower and just do like 3 minutes, moderate pace on that to get kind of warmed up, and then we'll do a few like body weight squat kind of things, and then start working on the bar.
Okay.
For setting up for the back squat, and we'll start with just the bar, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you always want to do. Is you start with the bar, and then you kind of warm up. You know, as you get more used to it, and you realize like, oh, okay, this is kind of my working weight. You don't want to take like huge jumps, so sometimes you'll do like a couple of warm-up sets. You know, I've been doing it for a long time now. I've done almost 500 pounds for one rep before. So like when I'm squatting like sets of 10 at 60%, that means I have to like build up to around 300 pounds. It like takes forever.
Yeah.
That's the disadvantage of lifting heavier, is it gets more time consuming. That is kind of like the whole like why 3 exercises can take like a whole hour. But when you're first starting out, you won't have to worry about as much math or warm-up sets.
Yeah.
So yeah, what you'll do is you'll come to the bar and you'll get under it, and you know, people, I mean, you'll have to kind of play around with where it feels comfortable on your back. Some people let it go further down their back in kind of a lower bar position.
Okay.
And some people will have it resting kind of right on their traps in this high bar position. I really like the high bar position because it helps me keep more upright posture. But some of this it depends on how, again, like we were talking about with like how long your femurs are and stuff like that. Because what we want ideally is we want to be getting to where your hip crease is below the top of your knee for depth, and you're still able to maintain kind of an upright posture and not down in the hole.
Okay.
See how it feels on your back. This is 35 pounds, so I don't think it's going to be anything you like can't handle. And I think it should be in a good height for you. Yeah. And then I'll take a step back, and yeah, you're good right there.
Yeah.
And so yeah, go ahead and give me, let's just do 8 squats there. Good, yeah.
It feels weird with the pressure on my back.
Yeah.
It's not what I'm used to.
It totally is different, yeah. The language we use to describe the lifts like sort of affects how we perform them. So it's like, okay, so it's a bench press. So that means I'm going down and then I'm starting my lift. I'm pressing. That's where the lift starts, right? Makes sense. So when we call it a squat, we think, okay, now I'm going to squat. I'm squatting. I'm done. I'm standing back up. I'm putting it away.
Yeah.
But that's actually kind of the opposite of how you really want to think about the squat. Don't think of it as a squat. Think of it as a stand. So, because the lift starts at the bottom.
Okay.
The first part is I'm getting ready to do my lift. So I'm getting down, I'm all the way down, now I'm standing.
Yeah.
That's the lift.
Okay.
From the bottom up.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when people aren't getting to depth, it's because they're like, okay, I'm squatting, have I done enough? Okay, back up. You know, and then they end up shorting the lift that way.
Makes sense.
Yeah. How heavy did that feel?
It didn't feel super light, like, oh man, I was like doing nothing. It felt like a little, but I could probably do a little more.
All right, let's put these 5-pound plates on there and see how those feel. You know, some people do a very narrow grip, some people do a super wide grip. I think somewhere in the middle is probably where you should start out.
Okay.
If you go really narrow, you're going to really kind of isolate your triceps and arms. If you go really wide, you're going to emphasize more of the chest and less of the arms. In the middle, you kind of hit both.
Okay.
And so again, lift the bar off, and you're bringing it down, touch your chest, and back up.
Okay. Feet on the ground.
Yeah, feet on the ground. And you can kind of focus on kind of pinning your shoulders to the bench, create a real stable. Yeah, good. Having a little bit of back arch is okay too.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You don't want your like butt coming off the bench.
I see people doing like crazy back arch.
In powerlifting, women do it especially. I mean, men do it too, but it's to shorten the range of motion for their lift so that they can do more weight. It's good for competition where like your goal is to lift the most you can.
Sure.
But for development, it's not really.
Okay. Feel the stretch.
Yeah. And when you're bringing it down, if it feels too high on your chest, you can bring it like further lower down as well. Yeah. Just depends. Yeah, I think that line motion looks good, better. Yeah. How heavy did that feel?
It felt heavy. Like I could probably do a little bit more, but not a lot.
Okay. So let's just stick with that for one more set, and if the second one feels depending on how that feels, maybe we'll put the 2.5s on and see how that feels on your third. Give it a few more seconds though.
Okay.
We want to take like,
I'll just lay right here for a second.
yeah, take advantage of the lying down portion of the event. This time I think sticking with 3 sets is perfect for the first time.
Yep.
Anytime you start, a new stimulus, soreness is definitely possible. So no need to push that too hard on the first day. The goal is not soreness, the goal is adaptation.
Right.
It's like that's the whole thing about strength training like this is that it's a signaling mechanism. Like if you're signaling your body, I need to get stronger, I'm being required to move heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like making that, and that's kind of like the higher versus lower rep scheme. It kind of correlates to that signal. So like if you do really lightweight for like a bunch of reps, it's like a bunch of smaller signals. And if you do a bunch of smaller signals, it will get through.
Yeah.
But when you cut the reps down but make it heavy, it's like, boom, boom, big signal, but shorter.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's often the most efficient way to build that strength.
Sure. That makes sense.
And just time-wise and so
Yeah.
forth. So have you done deadlifting before? of
I
any
have.
sort? Okay.
Mostly with dumbbells.
Dumbbells. Okay.
Yeah, at the gym
Okay.
and different exercise.
So
videos.
like one in each hand, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay. This is going to be similar to that. We'll start it with the bar. What you don't want to do is tip from with your back and put the weight there. You really want to focus on your hips and making it a hinge. So the bars.
Like stick your butt back.
Yeah, exactly. So the first thing that you want to have happen really is for your hips to start tracking back. And so the bar goes down. So the knees are soft. You don't need to keep the knees like perfectly straight. I see some people try to do that, but try to push it back and do a totally stiff-legged deadlift, which is also a thing, but it's not the basic deadlift.
Okay.
So yeah, hips go back, knees are soft. The bar stays close to you. You don't have to literally drag it, although a lot of people do. And if you're comfortable doing that, then that's fine. It's fine for the bar to stay in contact with you. The further out it gets from you, the more you're going to be pulled forward.
Sure.
So yeah, hips go back. And once we put a plate or two on there, the depth will be set. You'll go down and touch the ground.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But with the bar,
Not quite there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, hips go back. And keeping your eyes just forward, like actually looking
Chest
forward.
up.
Chest up, shoulders back, and then hips extend through, shoulders come back. Yep, good. That's plenty low enough. Yeah. And yeah, just focus on the hips, kicking back, and then extending back through. So you see how the bar's coming out away from you a little bit when you go down?
Yeah.
Try to keep it in a little bit closer. And you'll feel less pressure on your back that way. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
How heavy does it feel?
Not too bad.
Okay, good. So we can probably put 10-pound plates on next. Deadlift is usually where you're going to be able to move the most weight. So you see how far away from your knees you are right there? Yeah.
I feel like I'm having to push it back. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, focus on
I
pulling.
feel like it counterbalances me when I have it out, but maybe that's making it easier.
Yeah, I mean, you are doing a little bit of the tipping forward, so allowing your knees to bend a little bit will help that. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, and it's
Shaky shakes.
yeah. Just give me like one more of those, and then we'll take a quick break. Perfect. Yeah, eyes forward. Nice straight back, that looks great. Bring those hips through, yeah, good.
Like that?
Yep. Good, yeah, that looks really good. Yeah, pull that bar in towards you just a little bit more on the up and down. There you go.
Yeah, I definitely feel that.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a type of exercise where you don't just zone out.
No.
Unless, maybe when you get really good at it.
It's
you have to like really focus on every little thing.
Yeah, definitely. For me, and sometimes it's different for different people. Like some people on squats, th'll notice it the most, but for me, deadlift is where I can feel like my heart rate get elevated.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just
It's
it's
really
something
good.
about just activating all that posterior chain and driving up.
Yeah. All right, should I do one more?
Yeah, let's do one more set like that.
Yeah, I definitely feel sweaty. I feel like I did something, but not like HIIT training.
You'll have to tell me if you like feel super hungry afterwards, because a lot of times after lifting heavier, it's just like, why am I starving?
Yeah.
Because you don't feel like you went out and ran or did a bunch of intervals, but it's just like I need to eat.
Yes.
And that and of course, you are an expert in your diet already. You know what you're doing with that, and you know about getting enough protein.
Yes.
Which a lot of times with women, that's like a really hard thing for trainers to communicate and get them to do.
That's one thing I don't struggle with. Thankfully.
No. Because with building the strength, it's the two parts. It's the signal that you send to your body with the heavy weights, and then it's giving your body the building blocks to build muscle and rebuild that strength.
I was having a conversation with Levi this morning because he was like, he had slept a lot last night. I said, you slept so good. He's like, does sleeping make you stronger? And I was like, it does.
Yup.
But working also makes you stronger, but you have to do both.
Yep.
You can't just work all the time and not sleep, and you can't sleep all the time and not work. It works together.
Yep.
It was a good conversation.
That's great.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, no, sleep is huge, especially as we're like pushing into the 40s and stuff. Quality sleep for building muscle is necessary.
Yeah.
You can't like get away with anything anymore.
Yeah, when you're like 20, especially men.
Yep.
20-year-old males, they can get away with a lot.
Well, that was like the first time I needed to like lose weight, and I lost about 50 pounds. In my 20s, it was like I didn't change anything except that I started working out a little bit. And then years later, and of course all these cancer and all the other things were happening with me that made that hard. But it's like even without that, it's like no, you can't just start working out now. You have to do all the things at least pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like one pattern that I've had in my health journey is there will be certain times where I have my exercise just on point.
Yeah.
And then other times where I have my diet just on point. And you get to the point where you realize you have to have them all on point to make any significant change.
Yeah. When I was
just life.
When I was going through chemo, I was trying really hard to do my diet right, and I was trying to walk every day, and I was trying to start going to the gym, and I realized right now I can pull off 2 of those, but never all 3 at the same time somehow.
Yeah.
It just takes forever to get that. Oh yeah, it was a high stress time. But when you get to the point where you can do, whatever all the 3 ingredients or 4 ingredients
I think chemo
are.
counts as 3 or 4 things at once. So it makes sense.
It was a rough time.
Yeah, do you want to share real quick a little bit of that?
Yeah, I mean it was 2016 when we realized that I had the symptoms of low testosterone and started going to the doctor, and they found that there was a brain tumor, which took forever to get diagnosed. It was this really rare form of cancer, which they were able to treat with chemo, and that process took about 2 years, but then I had to go through this whole process of getting an endocrinologist, realizing that my testosterone and thyroid and a couple other hormones, I needed to take exogenously to keep those in a healthy place. So that's part of my life now, and recovery from that has been rebuilding muscle mass, losing lots of fat that came on during that long, my testosterone was literally at 0, possibly for close to a year, before it got diagnosed. And
And you were probably I need to eat better, I need to exercise more, and I need to do more.
100%. That was it.
Yeah.
I had the most self-directed hate and frustration that I've ever had at that time. Why aren't you trying harder? Clearly, this is
moral failing.
Yeah, you think that, and you just think I guess I'm just getting older. Maybe this is what it's like,
Everyone says
it. But then afterwards, when you get treated and your hormones are back to normal, sleeping is back to normal, you're oh my God, how did I even survive that way?
Yeah.
But when stuff creeps on like that, you don't notice it, and you just think that maybe this is the new normal.
Yeah. I definitely had my own version of that, with the stuff that I've been going through. And when you have felt what it's like to be hormonally imbalanced, and then felt what it's like to be hormonally balanced,
Yeah.
it's like night and day. And you realize, like I realized, there was no amount of, you know, breathing exercises or meditation I could have done to bring my heart rate down when my thyroid was out of control. And so it gives you a lot of like grace for yourself.
Yeah.
Not that you could just say everything is hormones and don't try anymore, but you have to have both together, and trying to take all of the personal responsibility of how you feel just in a moral way. You know, it's all on me and what my choices are, and not address that hormonal side. It can be so damaging.
Yeah, I think
that we're kind of at the place where we see a little bit more of the whole picture.
Yeah, and like when you do see the picture more fully, you can kind of come to a place where you like reconcile the personal responsibility with the things you don't have control over. Like that was kind of the point I had come to when they'd finally identified the cancer. I'm going through chemo, and I was like, okay, there's a way that I might get through this. Like there's, you know, like the chance that this is going to be treated and maybe I'm going to be able to get better, but all this stuff has happened to me and I'm in this state now. And that was when I started lifting weights. And it was because I was like, there's a whole bunch of stuff happening to me that I cannot control. It's totally outside of my control. You know, like if this treatment works or if the hormone levels, you know, come back or not. But I can control if I try to start getting active now. And that's the thing I want to like help people get to, you know, through training. And it doesn't mean you're going to get the results you want right away. Like I didn't get the results I wanted right away.
Yeah.
But the work that I put in, when the weight took years to come off and the muscle took years to build, that work was still contributing. And it was contributing to building habits, and it was making me stronger even at that time when other things were holding me back still.
Right.
We fall off on either like, well, it's outside my control, so screw it, and I, you know, I'm gonna just take a victim narrative for my whole life now, and that's just gonna be a reinforcing cycle. Or people who haven't experienced running up against those kinds of limits will be like, this is just all your fault. You need to try harder. And both of those things just don't realize the complexity of what it means to like be on a journey with your body and your health. And in the middle, you find that while there's a lot that's outside our control that we have to like go through, there's like a lot we can do and a lot we can achieve. And it's like, it's more than what we think. Like I never thought I would deadlift 500 pounds.
Oh my God.
Like even before, like when I was healthy, I never thought I wouldn't have thought of that. But you know, when you're trying to like make the one right decision, when like life is disrupted or you're dealing with an illness or an injury or any of those kinds of things, like that's like the most discouraging time and the time when you feel like you're making the least progress. But like when I look back now, I'm like so grateful to myself at that time. Like when I went into the gym and did like my first fit test and I like couldn't do 15 push-ups and kept going, like I look back on that person and I'm like, I'm really grateful for that person. You know?
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. All right. Well, thank you for sharing some of your story.
Yes.
And for all of the advice and things. I guess we'll end the video here.
Yeah. Cool.
And I'll put any info you want for if anybody locally wants to reach out to you. Do you do any like remote?
I'd be open to it. I haven't yet, but I would be open to doing some of the doing remote coaching because that's more and more common.
Yeah, and you'll have to send me some clips of your powerlifting.
Oh yeah, put them in. Sure. I've got some videos and some photos. Yeah.
Let's hear it,